when a legendary empire sank beneath the waves. In the depths of the ocean, where sunlight dares not reach, lies a secret time has tried to bury, yet legend still whispers through every wave. Atlantis, an ancient civilization of splendor, where mortals lived like gods, once shone like a jewel in the heart of the sea, until it was swallowed, suddenly and forever. But behind its fall was not just a natural catastrophe, there was the wrath of a god. Poseidon, the god of the sea, the father of Atlantis. He didn't merely bless the city with wealth and beauty, he shaped it with his own divine hands. It was his dream, his creation, his gift to the world. And so the question haunts every tale. If Poseidon was its protector, then why did Atlantis perish? Where was he? What did he do when his beloved creation vanished into the abyss? To find the answer, we must return to the beginning, when the sea had no name, and Poseidon was still painting his dream upon the endless blue. Poseidon and the birth of Atlantis, when the god of the sea dreamed of a paradise on earth. Long before Olympus rose, before the three brothers, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, divided the realms among themselves, before Greek warriors ever set foot on the soil of Troy, at the edge of the world, in the heart of an unnamed sea, Poseidon discovered an island so breathtaking, it stood alone like a solitary note in the cosmic symphony. And he, the god of the oceans, fell in love, not just with the land's lush valleys, towering mountains, and crystal-clear springs, but with someone who lived there. A mortal woman named Cleito, radiant as moonlight dancing upon still waters, so beautiful she made even a god forget the chaos of the world. Poseidon, often known as fierce and tempestuous, wielding his trident to stir storms and summon waves, suddenly became gentle, tender. He didn't abduct her like the other women in Greek myths. He didn't drag her into his underwater palace. Instead, he built her a sanctuary, a city born from love and hope. From that act of devotion, Atlantis was born. With his divine trident, Poseidon carved 5 rings of land and 5 rings of water encircling the island's center, where Cleito lived. The city walls shimmered with orichalcum, a metal more radiant than fire. Every stone, every stream, every golden field of grain was part of a dream Poseidon shaped for her. Together, they had 10 sons. The eldest, Atlas, was crowned king of the island, and his name was given to it, Atlantis. Their children, half god, half mortal, carried Poseidon's vision forward, building a civilization unlike anything the world had ever seen. Roads that glistened like mirrors, temples that reached for the stars, flying chariots, and ships that sailed across the vast oceans. Atlantis was not merely a city, it was a symbol of humanity's golden age. A place where people lived not by war or greed, but in harmony, with nature, with the gods, and with their own souls. From the depths of the sea, Poseidon looked upon it and whispered to himself, I have created paradise. But the most beautiful dreams are often the ones that end too soon. When mortals crossed the line, the fall of Atlantis, time flowed like the tide beneath the moon, gentle yet unstoppable. Atlantis, once a divine dream brought to life, slowly transformed into a symbol of ambition, extravagance, and power. The sons of Poseidon, those demigod kings, once ruled with wisdom, fairness, and harmony with all things. But as Atlantis grew in wealth and glory, so too did its pride. The divine blood that once inspired nobility now fueled arrogance. They forgot their ancient vows. They no longer looked to the heavens to thank their godly father. Golden palaces began to outshine sacred temples. More weapons were forged than laws written. Lavish feasts lasted longer than rituals of worship. The people of Atlantis, who had once lived in harmony with sea and soil, now reached out their claws to conquer the world. They built a mighty navy, attacked distant lands, and declared themselves masters of mankind. And then the gods on Mount Olympus saw. Zeus, king of the gods, gazed down upon Atlantis and frowned. He saw not a people of gratitude and humility, but defiance, hubris, and blasphemy. The children of Poseidon, born from love, had twisted that love into a weapon for domination. A council of the gods was summoned, and amid the thunder that shook Olympus, a judgment was passed. But Poseidon, did he agree? As the father of Atlantis, the one who had crafted the island and breathed into it the first light, Poseidon was torn. He looked upon his children, those he once cradled, those he had taught to call the names of the wind and the waves, and now saw rulers who built temples not for the gods, but for themselves. His heart was the sea itself, deep, vast, filled with both fury and sorrow. How could a father bear witness to the ruin of his own creation? Poseidon pleaded with Zeus for mercy. He swore he would unleash storms and quakes to awaken his wayward bloodline, to restore balance to Atlantis. But Zeus only shook his head. It's too late, brother. Mankind no longer listens to the sea. They listen only to the clash of steel and the voice of their own pride. And so, the final hour began to strike. When Atlantis was sunk, the sorrow of Poseidon. The sky that day held no thunder, only a haunting stillness, a silence before the storm, as if nature itself held its breath, waiting for something immense to unfold. Poseidon stood alone in the vast ocean, his trident trembling slightly, not from rage, but from hesitation. The waves around him did not roar or rise as they usually did. Instead, they quietly receded, as though trying to flee from the guilt that was about to descend. Far on the horizon, Atlantis still glittered beneath the sun. Golden towers pierced the sky, colossal statues of kings loomed proudly, and ships stretched their sails across every sea, as if no realm lay beyond their grasp. But beneath that beauty, pride had festered. And Poseidon, he had once taught them to dream grand dreams. Now, he was the one who had to teach them the cost of forgetting the divine. His heart cracked, not because of Zeus, but because of himself. Poseidon didn't strike first. It was Zeus's lightning that tore through the sky, a jagged scar across fate itself. But it was Poseidon who raised his trident and slammed it into the sea, ripping open deep chasms in the ocean floor. From beneath the earth, molten fires surged upward, consuming buildings, plazas, and memories alike. The screams that echoed from Atlantis were not cries of remorse, but of panic, as humanity realized too late. They had never been mightier than the gods. Ships scrambled to flee the harbors. Crystal seawalls shattered like glass. The ground split open, and streets were swallowed by black whirlpools, like the gaping mouth of some ancient beast. Those who once ruled the seas were now no more than dry leaves in a storm of their own making. Atlantis sank into the depths. Forever. Poseidon did not turn away. He watched as his dream crumbled, watched as the vision he once nurtured was devoured by the sea he loved. His deep ocean blue eyes now shimmered with a sorrow too vast to name. And then silence. The sea closed over the ruins like a shroud, erasing all trace that a kingdom had ever stood there. All that remained was endless water, crashing waves, and the icy winds of loneliness. Poseidon turned his back. He did not return to Olympus. He descended into the deepest trenches of the ocean, where the echoes of Atlantis still drift through the currents, in the shimmer of broken pearls, in dreams that were never finished. And from that day on, Poseidon never created another city. Not because he couldn't, but because he wouldn't. For when a dream is shattered, the heart of the dreamer is never whole enough to dream again. The lesson of Atlantis: power, pride, and the gods' forgiveness. When the ocean grew calm once more. When Atlantis became nothing but a legend passed down through whispers. When humanity looked up to the heavens and asked, why did the gods punish us so harshly? There remained a truth buried beneath the sunken palaces and broken temples. Human pride is never eternal, but the price for it always exceeds imagination. Atlantis, a kingdom gifted by the gods, a miracle shaped by Poseidon out of pure love, did not fall to nature's fury. It fell to arrogance. It fell because its people dared to reach beyond the order of the cosmos, because they hungered to surpass the gods without carrying the weight of humility. Poseidon was not merely the destroyer. He was the one who mourned. The punishment was not the fury of a wrathful god, but the inescapable consequence of countless choices unwise. Poseidon didn't just teach Atlantis about limits. He taught all of humanity a timeless truth. The gods are not heartless, but forgiveness is never unconditional. They say that on quiet nights, when the wind sleeps and the moonlight kisses the ocean, If you listen closely to the waves, you might hear echoes of Atlantis, the notes of ancient harps, the voices of orators, the laughter of children in pearl gardens. It is not a dream. It is memory, the memory of the sea, where Poseidon still keeps fragments of a soul he could never let go. And somewhere, in the deepest parts of the ocean, Atlantis still dreams. A waterlogged dream, a warning carved in white stone and shattered coral, a scar in the heart of the sea god, one that will never fully heal. Epilogue: when gods weep and mortals stand silent. The tale of Atlantis and Poseidon is more than myth. It is a mirror held up to mankind. It speaks of how favor is not forever, and even divine love has its limits. It tells us that power, when divorced from humility and awareness, builds empires not on rock, but on sand. And it shows us that even a god like Poseidon, one of the three supreme rulers of the cosmos, can be disappointed, can feel heartbreak, can choose to walk away when the dream he once nurtured turns into an unbearable sorrow. So if one day you find yourself standing by the sea, gazing at the horizon, remember, beneath those waves lies a story, and perhaps a god still listens, hoping you will not repeat the mistake Atlantis once made.